Yes.
Mid-80s.
You join us in the middle of speculating on the death of a queen.
She hangs in stirrups, and they feed her only the finest oats.
Ah, yes. That's right.
Like Kobe beef. Like Kobe beef is so good. Classical music in their ears.
Are you sure you want to do this, Megan?
I don't know. Is it too late to back out now?
You could always have internet troubles.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Scott. Well, that killed the conversation.
Well, listen, these video people, they don't know what's up.
Yeah.
They'll get it.
They don't know what important conversations we were having about diet and hair loss.
Listen, yeah, if you're not getting the treasure chest access from the Patreon, you'll never know unless you're listening to the audio live. I guess that would be the other way.
Yeah.
I might be streaming this on Facebook Live too.
It might be streaming somewhere else too. Maybe. They can't hear us though, can they?
That's true. No, I'm not streaming it on Facebook Live, and they wouldn't be able to. No.
That would be fine.
Yeah. The first day it came out, I tried it once, but otherwise I just feel like I'm scared of it.
Redundant? Like there's tons of them already, and why one more kind of thing? That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I've been using it to record and easily publish videos to the DTNS Facebook page.
Yeah.
Like, I usually get like 2 viewers live, but I'm like, I don't really care. I don't care about the live part. It's just easy to be like, oh, let me do a tease. Like, hey, coming up on the show today, blah, 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 blah.
But you don't put it on your personal, because I've never seen it.
No, I just put it on the DTNS one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I should reshare it, shouldn't I?
You should.
Started to get texts from friends saying, did you send this request? Yes, did.
All right. I am about ready. Are y'all?
Hiding.
I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Never been more ready.
Well,
Except that
okay
time I
then.
was on with Megan and Jason.
Yeah, you were more ready then.
Yeah.
Other than that, I am second best ready.
Okay. Well, let's get going. Here we go. Daily Tech News Show is powered by its audience, not outside organizations. To find out more, head to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. This is the Daily Tech News for Wednesday, July 27th, 2016. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, as he does most Wednesdays, Mr. Scott Johnson, podcaster at the Frog Pants Studios and cartoonist. We always forget that part.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do both, and they're both, keep me nice and busy and stuff. And today, funny you should mention that. Today, one of my great, how do I say this? I looked up to him maybe more than any other cartoonist as a lad. Jack Davis died today. Fantastic artist, yeah. So just a little at the top of the show, sadness about one of the most influential cartoonists of all time. And if you read Mad Magazine at all as a kid, or even as a young adult, or whenever you may have read it, you probably ran into his work, and you were better for it. So rest in peace, Jack Davis.
It was not my plan to put an obituary before announcing our next guest.
Sorry.
So I'll give a little space there. No, Jack Davis was amazing, and it is sad to see him go. But we are cheered up because Megan Morrone, host of Tech News Today and iOS Today, is joining us as well. Hi, Megan.
Hello, Tom. Scott, thank you for that lead-in. That was quite nice. I'm so happy to be here, though. Thank you so much for having me. Love talking to you guys.
It's
totally
great
to
Tom's
have you.
fault, by the way, because Tom said something about a cartoonist, and I just went there.
Yeah. No, it was perfectly natural. We understand. I'm sure Megan understands, right?
I do, and I'm a huge fan of Mad Magazine. I still buy it at the airport for my kids and for me.
No kidding. No.
Mm-hmm.
They sell it at the airport. I
They
never
do.
noticed that.
Yes.
I mean, I usually see it in the grocery store and places like that still, but
Yeah, perfect.
Duty free at the airport. No, no,
Yes.
really.
Perfect way to entertain your kids without
we
batteries.
are going to talk about entertaining kids with batteries, not letting them play with batteries. That might be dangerous. But with technology and how do you, as somebody who enjoys technology, which we assume you do, or you wouldn't be really watching or listening to this show, deal with the challenges that provides to parenting. Megan and Scott have got some great ideas. We got some great questions from the audience, but let's start off with the top stories. Google launched Family Library this morning, allowing up to 6 people to share purchases from Google Play across devices. That includes music, movies, TV shows, books, apps, and games. Over the next few days, the service will become available in Australia, Brazil, Canada, France, Germany, Ireland, Italy, Japan, Mexico, New Zealand, the UK, and the US. One person becomes the family manager. So they put in a credit card. That credit card pays for everything. So you have to use a credit card that you're okay with everybody else spending on. And then you manage the other members. All items are shared by default, but you can turn on selective sharing, or you can even choose individual things, even as a sub-member, and say, I don't want to share that with the rest of the audience. You get parental controls. They are respected across all the accounts. So you can say, oh, that's my son in there, so don't let them get the R-rated movies or whatever. Credit card is shared, as I mentioned, but individual members can buy items with their own payment methods as well. I think I should do this. Are either of you enough in the Google universe to do that?
Not so much in the Google universe, but because a similar thing is happening with iOS, I've always used this as a way to sort of not keep track of what the kids are downloading, but it's a great way to just sort of know what's up. You kind of know what's happening in the ecosystem because you're a part of it. So if I see that there's an app downloaded and I know it wasn't me who got it, well, then maybe I wonder who got it. Or if I download an app and one of the kids sees I got a game that looks like fun, they might grab it or whatever. Like it's this nice thing that not only saves everybody money because we're not all forced to get our own purchases of some of the same things, but I don't know, it just lets me have a lens on what's happening. Megan, what's your experience with that sort of thing?
I also use iCloud family sharing. We have one Android tablet and the rest is iPads and iPhones. So iCloud family sharing works great for us. Not having to buy movies more than once and knowing what the kids are downloading, that's great. In the beginning, it's a little wonky. Like sometimes we'd end up with each other's text messages, which could be tricky at times.
That's frightening.
Yes, it was actually, but now it's pretty good. I mean, we all have our separate accounts, and we can see what they buy and what they're watching. We like it. So I'm glad that Android users have this as well.
Well, and this will work across Google Play, even on things like Roku or on smart TVs, or places where Google has its account available even off of Android. At least that's my understanding for it. So I could see somebody with a Roku deciding to do this because, hey, a couple of my kids have an Android phone. I have an iPhone, but I can watch Google Play movies on there. So maybe we'll live in that universe because of that. I don't know.
Yeah, my NVIDIA Shield, for example, will be a nice sort of hub for a lot of this stuff, and I'll be able to see when something's been downloaded somewhere else, or at the very least I will know that I've got something that I pulled down on the Shield and now somebody else can get it in its more portable format. I don't know, for a house full of teenagers, this works really well for me, and I'm really glad to see Google doing it. It seems like they took a long time to do this, and I don't know why that would be exactly. It seems like something that could have been easy and done some time ago, but hey, better late than never. Let's do it.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm going to try to convince my wife to merge our accounts on this. We'll see how that goes.
There you go. Microsoft has a free photo app for iOS called Pix. I know Megan's been using it in the App Store right now. The app continuously takes pictures and uses an algorithm to select the best one from among 10 images taken before and after the camera button is pressed. So it's looking for the most sharp, the best one, best contrast, all of that. It also does live images that mix still and live imagery to create short video clips. We all, before the show, witnessed Tom's hair in a very strange way. It also reduces noise, adjusts contrast and white balance, recodes Ina Fried. Notes the app is one of several recent efforts to go directly from Microsoft Research to the open market. And outside of their boring logo, I think it's kind of cool. I've only had a few minutes to mess with it, but it seems nice. I mean, how many times have we hope the stabilization works. We hope the shot that we're taking in the moving car is going to work out. We hope. But how many times have we ended up with something blurry at a moment we really wish it wasn't? This seems like a nice way to maybe help ensure that you're getting the best possible shot. What do you think, Megan? You like this thing? You've been messing with it.
I have been messing with it. I like it. And I've used external camera apps before, but, in emergency situations, you want to just use the shortcut. Sometimes you don't even want to unlock your phone. And that's the thing with all these Microsoft apps. You're not going to be able to replace the camera app in your iPhone with this. So I wonder if people will use it so much because of that. But I don't know. I mean, how many emergency pictures do you guys take?
Well, that was what I was thinking. It isn't even just the emergency pictures, but the idea of, oh, right, I'm going to use that Microsoft Pix. I mean, I guess I could put it in my dock down at the bottom and just make it my camera app. and then that would be available in every instance except that lock screen. But I don't see myself doing that. It was fun to mess around with. The pictures look interesting. Some look better than the default camera, some don't. Because of the way the algorithm works, I don't think it's perfect. Like Scott said, Megan took a picture of me and just part of my hair was moving, but not all of it. So it's not perfect. I tried to take a hyperlapse video of my dog Django, and it just wouldn't upload to Facebook. It kept failing, and I don't know if that was a connectivity error or a Facebook error or what. But it was not enough to convince me. Like, I will go out of my way to use this instead of the default camera.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add to the tail end of that is that I wish Apple would make it possible, and I don't see any reason why they couldn't do this in the future, but make it possible for that lock screen photo flip to be some other default photo app. Just be able to tell it, hey, I want this to be something else. Like, I use something called Warm Light. I like a lot. I really like the filters in it. It's a really strong app, and I would like to assign that there, or assign pics there, or whatever app is showing real strength in the market. I would like the best app to come up when I'm in traffic, sitting still, and I see somebody's got a funny license plate, and I better hurry and catch it before it goes away. And that lock screen thing is really important to me. So if there's anything I hope that comes out of these apps coming out from big players like Microsoft, Google, and whoever, that maybe Apple will back down a little bit on whether or not you can change your default camera app in the lock screen. That would be awesome.
I don't think they'll ever do that.
Probably not. But we used to hear that about browsers. We used to hear that about default apps not being able to go away. It takes them forever, but I'm not.
Even when they let you change your default keyboard, it always reverts, or there's some instance where the default keyboard doesn't work and it goes back to the iOS keyboard. Like, they just don't like to live that way.
They don't. They go down kicking and screaming, but eventually they do. Like, I can't remember the last time I used the default mail app. I know, Tom, you still do, but I use all sorts of other defaults, and apps are sending them to other apps because they support those as defaults, and you start to see them loosen that grip over time. But you're not wrong that it takes them forever, and this one seems unlikely, perhaps, at this point.
I guess if you don't have an iPhone 6S, so you don't have live photos, the live images, and if that's something, I mean, we're talking about a small subset here, but people who really want that and don't have it can get a similar thing to that with Pix. Mm-hmm. It's a good, I don't mean to rain on the app. It's a good app. Sure. It's just always hard to unseat someone's default camera app.
As Microsoft knows, I mean, Explorer is the only word you need to know, and default helps.
Xiaomi unexpectedly announced a laptop. They were announcing a Redmi phone, but then they announced the Mi Notebook Air. The 13.3-inch version has an Intel Core i5 Skylake processor with an NVIDIA 940MX GPU. It's 4,999 yuan, or about $750 US. The 12.5-inch has an Intel Core M3 and sells for 3,499 yuan, for about $520. That 13.3-inch model is 14.8 millimeters thick and 1.28 kilograms in weight. So they point out, hey, this is technically thinner and lighter than a MacBook Air, even if it doesn't have the wedge design. Both sizes of the new Mi Notebook Airs feature a 1080p display, backlit keyboard, and USB-C charging. It will launch in China on August 2nd. So as the market for laptops, I'll be charitable and say, stabilizes in China, Xiaomi gets into the game with a Windows laptop.
And calling it the Air. So there you have that. Slightly annoying to me.
So it's $750. Is that how much it costs?
That's the top end one.
Top
yeah,
it's
the
top
equivalent.
Top tier MacBook Air is about $1,000.
Sure. Yeah,
so,
and that's Xiaomi's thing, right?
Yeah. And I like that there's the back plate that you can adjust, and it said that they're going to sell stickers for it. So I mean, you could just put a big sticker on the back of it, and no one would know you didn't have a MacBook Air.
Yeah, or you could get an Apple sticker from another Apple product.
Good point.
Put that on the back. Boom. Yeah. You're done. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if this makes its way outside of China. Xiaomi's non-phones do tend to go outside, but this is more than just an accessory. It's more than headphones or something like that.
Yeah, and there's nothing here that strikes me as cheap. Like, this all sounds like good specs. Sounds like the price is right for what you're getting. It's speedy enough.
It's mid-range, I guess. I mean, i5 Skylake for $750 is not a bad price. Yeah.
No, and having that, it's a portable. You're not trying to, solve the world's problems with it. You're trying to get your work done, and I think that's pretty good. I think calling it the Air is weird, and I'll stick to that till my time breath. Nintendo. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Is it a gaming machine? Like,
I doubt
no.
it. Not enough. I mean, that NVIDIA 940MX GPU is gonna do okay with some two-dimensional stuff and the occasional really old thing, but nothing that you'd want to buy on Steam today is going to run on this very well. Nintendo posted an operating loss of 5.1 billion yen. That's $49 million. You know, really, the yen, they need some. I told you this before, Tom. The yen's too small. You got to have some sub-yens. Anyway, this is down from a profit of 1.5 billion yen last year and worse than the estimate of 4 billion yen. Nintendo also announced its Pokemon Go Plus wrist accessory will be delayed until September due to software adjustments. Nintendo has forecast operating profit to climb 37% to 45 billion yen in the year ending in March. This is all on the tail end of, you know, everybody singing Nintendo's praises for a couple of weeks because they all thought Nintendo Go, or Nintendo Go, they all thought Pokemon Go was something Nintendo made, and then some investors went, wait a minute, they didn't really make it. They kind of just have a weird ownership thing going on, so maybe they shouldn't artificially inflate their stock. And I think what needs to happen real fast is Nintendo needs to act quickly on the NX. They need to get that out and make sure people know what it is, and really impress investors with that, so we know what their future-facing game plans are, and then also fully involve themselves in their mobile plans in a way that is very transparent, very upfront, and tell us what the heck they've got coming down the pipe, because all of that will solve their problems. I am convinced.
I think you're right. I think this is just a fallow period, and the fact that Pokemon Go came out and was so successful, and Nintendo owns 32% of the Pokemon company by various estimates, meant people got too excited for what would happen. But this is really what you would expect. What I would not have been surprised at this at all. In fact, I'm still not surprised at this at all, even considering Pokemon Go. It's the Nintendo NX that is going to be the next big make or break, and possibly the momentum they build by coming out with more smartphone apps.
Yeah, and they can, and they should, and if I were them, I would smell blood in the water. I would see the success of Go and go, guys, what are we doing? Like, we know we have some plans. We kind of eked out a few things before this. That Miitomo app did okay, but really think of what we have in the strength of our IPs and what we could do to this market. If that free Go app, which we didn't even make, didn't have Nintendo's magic smeared on it, which is, you know, most gamers will tell you it's not a great game. It's not the reason it's such a big deal. They could come in and change all of that and do it quickly and deftly, and it would change the market forever. And I know they're stubborn about this. I get it. I totally get it. But I think this is the time for Nintendo to quit worrying about them being the hardware maker and instead them being the brand that everyone loves from 5-year-olds to 80-year-olds, because they are. And we're ready, man. We're ready for whatever you got next.
Well, don't you think they have plans for that for some of their other properties to make more like augmented reality or faux augmented reality games?
Well, I think so, but don't you think they should talk about it? Like they just haven't said anything, and I know there's, you know, a disconnect between what the U.S. Nintendo leadership does versus the Japanese, but I think they should be all over this in a way that is much more PR centric. They should just be talking about what they have coming. They have a what's it called? Animal Crossing game coming out for mobile, which could potentially be enormous for them. And there's just not a lot of talk about it, and we don't know when it's coming. And the truth is, there wasn't a lot of talk about Pokemon Go before it hit. It was sort of just,
right, and look what happened to that. It was a flop.
Right, a huge flop. Well, I don't know, Megan. I'm kind of in the position of thinking that Nintendo, I don't know, I feel like they're just letting this slip through, and maybe it's just the world moves too quickly now, and Nintendo doesn't want to be told how to move. Maybe that's it. But you know, we're what, 3 weeks into this app's existence and seeing the potential. So maybe it's just not enough time for them to, I don't know, regroup or refocus or decide what to do in the wake of it. But I just feel like they should have said something by now that's a little more substantive than just, hey, we're working on NX and we're pleased things are going well with that. That's just a weird thing for me to hear them say.
You just want to hear more.
Yeah, I want to hear more, Tom.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and it's perfectly reasonable. I think that the way Nintendo works is when they have something to give you is when they talk about it. And that's just historically the way they've been. They're a little more tight-lipped, like Apple in that respect. And so when it's time for Animal Crossing to come out, that's when they'll talk about it. They don't beat the hype machine as far in advance as other companies, for good or ill.
They could come out tomorrow and say, Animal Crossing is coming out next March. Just letting you know, here's your date.
Yeah, but maybe they're not sure. I mean, Blizzard does it too, where they're like, we're not going to give you a date until we're sure we can hit that date.
That's a good point.
Well, you guys aren't even talking about the Pokemon Go Plus not coming out, being delayed till September. Are you upset about that, the wearable?
I think that's probably, you're right, the most significant part of the earnings report, because that is a surprise. We thought they were going to have it out this month, and that is a way that they can use their involvement in this to make direct money. And maybe it's the same thing, Megan. Maybe they're like, not ready. We shouldn't have even indicated that it was coming out this month because we have to delay it till next.
Yeah, I'm very curious about that thing. I mean, if it's just, if it's a tracker and you got a lot of people out walking right now, you got to strike without irons hot. Maybe they struck too soon and they're just not done.
Apple announced revenue fell 14.6% year over year to $42.4 billion, and we got a little more detail about that in the earnings call yesterday. Dragged down by slowing phone sales, declining China revenue. iPhone unit sales fell 15%. Revenue in China dropped 33%. Still, Apple beat expectations, so everyone's pretty positive about this. iPad sales grew for the first time in 10 quarters to $4.9 billion, though that's because they charge more for the iPad Pro, because they actually sold fewer units. They just made more on each unit. iPhone SE sales were good, so they were very pleased to finally see that pick up. In the earnings call, Tim Cook noted that Apple Pay now accounts for 75% of contactless payments in the U.S., and user numbers are up 450% year over year. That implies that you started with a very small number to have that big of a growth. He also expected service revenue to grow enough to make the business qualify, as he put it, for the Fortune 100 if it were an independent company. So it looked like Tim Cook was trying to say, don't worry about the fact that we don't have a great product out right now. We have stuff in the works. He even alluded to augmented reality a little bit, talked about Pokemon Go. And he said that services are going to get bigger and bigger. And we see them getting into making more TV shows. We see them getting behind Apple Music and touting that. I mean, Megan, do you think Apple can finally become a services company?
I think they hope they can. I mean, they've certainly been pushing it. Yeah, like you said, they have all the services that he said in the earnings call that he thinks could be rolled out into a Fortune 100 company. I don't know. I mean, I think earnings are so interesting. They're so like emotion based. It's like, well, this is what we expected, but it seems to me like, as far as what I can tell from these earnings, it's the investors are saying like, it's not as bad as we expected, so let's buy more stock.
Yeah. Also, they didn't talk about this that I know of, but it's widely assumed that they're making the most money from Pokemon Go right now. And maybe him mentioning them working on some AR plans is enough to indicate that Apple must have been very impressed with that. The thing is, since we've had motion control on these phones, and that's been since what, the 4 or 4S maybe? I can't remember. I think the 4. When that hardware was integrated into the phone, you could do AR then. And you could do it in every subsequent year, and suddenly now AR is all the rage all these years later because finally somebody figured out the kind of killer app for it. So I'm really glad to hear that they're working on that, but I don't know if that's the thing that's going to help these numbers in the future. Like, hey, we're going to have more cool Pokemon Go style things going on. Okay, well, great. I expect a lot of copycat apps coming soon. I expect years of, I mean, if we thought the Angry Birds ripoffs were bad and the Candy Crush ripoffs were bad, man, get ready for Pokemon Go likes, because it's going to get real hairy up in here. And maybe they just want a piece of that, but by all accounts, they're making the most money from that anyway with their 30% cut.
I mean, you say that, we say that, everybody guesses that. I'm sure they're making a lot of money from it, but I think that's overemphasized right now. That Apple makes a lot of money off all the apps in its store, and that's why you didn't hear him mention anything about it. Because even if they are technically making the most money off of it, to them it's just a drop in the bucket compared to iPhone sales and iPad sales and whatnot.
That's true. It's just more than Nintendo at this point, I think. Anyway, hey, look at this. Road to VR reports an update to the Oculus Home software enables support for tracking the Rift and the Touch with up to 4 trackers. When I heard about this, I just thought, oh man, cluster mess, wired horribleness. But I don't know, some developers are saying it's not too bad. That means you can add 4 trackers and use some Steam games that require them. Trackers have been plugged in by USB, or that's how they work. They're USB 3.0 cables between the trackers. If you have the room, you will essentially be creating
a tripping hazard. A
tripping hazard, number one. But you're basically going to roughly equal what the Vive claims to do. It isn't technically room scale. That's important to note in this conversation, because everyone's just assuming, well, this means giant room scale. That doesn't exactly mean what it means, but you can emulate a lot of that in a single-player experience. More importantly, there are multiplayer opportunities here. This does not mean you can only have one computer for everyone, though. I think that's important to note. There may be some low frequency, low resolution, low fidelity kind of experiences that will work in that regard. But if you're looking for photorealistic multiple headsets, you're in trouble because you're talking about so much rendering. The best cards on the market won't be able to do it. Looks fun, though.
For the track controllers from Oculus, you will need 2 sensors, right? Correct.
You'll need 2 for sure. And the talk I heard is it would start new shipments would ship, or the ones that are bundled with controllers would ship with 2 sensors, and you can buy individual additional sensors if you want. I think those who currently own an Oculus Rift have the one sensor already, can buy an additional sensor plus the controllers in a possible bundle as well. And they need to make that transition as easy as possible because you've already kind of hosed those people a little bit by saying, here's the device and we don't have any kind of room scale or controllers yet, but here you go. And now you're being asked to buy a new thing. It's a really, kind of a rough thing to ask people to do with any hardware and any consoles, any sort of consumer electronics. People don't generally do that. So it's a big sell. They have to get people excited about it, and I think this is a great way to do it. Like saying that there's additional capability, additional players potentially, like all of this is good for that market, for that higher end market, I guess.
All right, now if you watched This Week in Tech this week, you know that Megan Morrone warned you this is earnings week, and there are loads of earnings. So I have one more earnings to tell you about today. Facebook earned $6.44 billion in revenue and 97 cents a share. The reason it's worth mentioning is that passed estimates of $6.02 billion and 82 cents a share. So they killed it. Revenue growth was 59% year over year. Stocks are going up though, but that always happens weird. It's hard to tell what that actually means. Facebook added 60 million people this quarter. To me, that's the most interesting stat here. They now reach 1.71 billion monthly users. That is close to a quarter of the population. That's probably overestimating it, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah, 1.7. That's a lot, Megan. How many? I mean, Twitter can't get any kind of sustained growth, and here's Facebook nearly at 2 billion people.
I know. Well, I'm thinking of it because Apple just made an announcement too that they sold 1 billion iPhones. So it's comparing the two. There are Apples and Facebooks, of course, but it's still something to think about because that's individual people for Facebook, but like lots of us have bought multiple iPhones. So yeah, I think there's no stopping Facebook.
Yeah, it's Facebook's world. We just post in it. Big thanks to everyone who supports us on our subreddit. Go in there and post and vote, like Captain Kipper, like Motang, like Philip Shame, like TalkTick. Just TalkTick. I don't know why that was so hard for me to say. ICU, MacWinUXIT, and more. DailyTechNewsShow.reddit.com. Those are the top stories. Now let's get into our main topic. I wanted Megan and Scott to talk today, and I don't mean to embarrass them too much, but I find both of them to be great examples of good parents who also are fans of technology. You guys do a great job raising your kids, but you're also big fans of technology. And there's a lot of scuttlebutt out there about like, ooh, technology, I'm scared, privacy, security, my kids spend too much time on it. I mean, let's start with you, Scott, and I'll let you kind of lead us here. Like, what are the things you think about? What are the things you're concerned with when you teach your kids about technology?
Well, it changes based on what stage they're in, what age they're in. And I have 3 children, and I've been their father when they were little and when they were toddlers and then all the way through and then became teenagers and so on. And I have still a 16-year-old and a 19-year-old at home. I have a married 22-year-old daughter. And in every single case, they were coming of age or growing up through a particular part of, I would say, the boom of technology growth that we've seen in the last, this last generation, let's say. And so I had a daughter who was born in the midst of the internet becoming a thing at all. Like the World Wide Web was as fresh as a brand new baby, if you think about it, in 1994 when she was born. And so she has never known a world without web pages that had graphics on them and links and searchable databases. Like none of this was something that was brand new to her. She's just always known it. And as she got older, that changed from, Dad, can I play on the consoles, or Dad, can I play on the computer, to Dad, I want my own cell phone when she's 12 or something. And At the time, it was like a crummy 9-key, pre-iPhone, whatever flip phone, and she became a wizard at that. And then texting came into the picture. So without stepping through everyone's stages of growth in my family, I have seen these very particular moments. The advent of the internet. Dad, I want to go on the internet and look for stuff. Dad, I think I got a virus on the computer. Or, Dad, I want my own cell phone. Or, why is someone texted me something mean? What does this mean? And here we are today with Facebook and a billion apps that want their attention. So I have seen it. I mean, quite literally, from the first kid up to now a 16-year-old son. I have seen the entire gamut of like what the social part of the internet was, is, and might become. And it's always a challenge to try to think of how best parenting, or what kind of parenting should be used to navigate those rough waters, because they can be a little bit rough sometimes. So I'll just say this, and then I would love to hear Megan's take on some of these broader points too, and we can get more specific as well. But my kids are, we kind of make our overall methodology here is we make them part of the deal, part of the conversation. So if one of them comes to me and says, Dad, I want to get a Facebook page, some years ago, I better have one before them, and I better know what it is before I say yes. There's a need for parents to be educated about what the heck it is they're talking about and why they're asking for it. I had Facebook before them, Snapchat before them, Twitter before them. These were all things I understood intrinsically before they had any interest in it. And then when it comes to things where, basically what you're doing is you're giving them no excuse to sort of rebel in that regard. There's nowhere to rebel. You know it as well as they do. You friend them on there, they friend you back. We now have an arrangement where if Nick knows about some new app he wants to tell me about, in fact, today he's the one that told me about this app called Marco Polo, which is like a real-time video sort of texting app. He came to me and says, can I get this app? And I said, well, let me try it out. And I tried it out and said, this is pretty cool. Yes, you can get this app. And so he's got all his friends on there. He's talking to me on there. Like, we had this conversation about the app. It wasn't Dad wondering what that weird mystery is that's on his phone and him saying, Dad doesn't know anything. I got all kinds of cool stuff he doesn't know about. It's really transparent and open in our house. There's never been sort of there's no, what's the word? I don't look at any of this stuff and just create a taboo automatically. And I think that's really important. But I don't want to take too many broad strokes on this. I know we want to get more specific, but Megan, your thoughts on kind of the broader context of bringing kids up in a technology world.
Well, I agree with you that we have an advantage, and I think most of the people listening to this also have an advantage, that we do understand technology. We feel comfortable with learning about new technology, and I feel grateful for that every day, because I think when your children know that, when they might know about apps that you don't know about, but when they know that you understand this and that you might be 2 steps ahead of them, that's an advantage for sure, because there's always something new. It's you talked about your kids on Facebook. And I just said before that there's no stopping Facebook, but my kids have no interest in Facebook. Neither do any of their friends. I have a 13-year-old and 2 11-year-olds, and that's just as far from what they want to do at all. It's all Snapchat, and it was Instagram, and now it's Snapchat, and now, interestingly, it's moving towards Musical.ly. Tom, do you know Musical.ly?
Yeah, music.ly. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's you make little videos with with your friends, and they just introduced a live feature where it's live streaming, and I think that this my kids they're sort of interested in this, but to me that's a really good example of the way technology moves for tweens and teenagers. They want to be where we are not, that's how we were with kids, right? Like, we as kids, we wanted to be in our room, we wanted to be on our bike somewhere, we wanted to be at the park. We didn't want to be where our parents were. And so we're all on Facebook. Then we all moved to Instagram. And then so they moved to Snapchat. Now we're all on Snapchat, and they're finding something else. And the interesting thing that they've chosen this thing that anyone probably over the age of 20 will probably not use on a regular basis. You and I are not making videos, lip sync videos, too often. I don't know, Scott. That's another story.
Will be after this episode. So what do you guys tell to the parents who are into technology, but they're like, I can't keep up. I don't do a daily tech news show. Like, how do I find out where they're going so that I can do what Scott says and be able to experience these things so I can advise them on it?
Well, part of it, I don't want to oversimplify this because I know this isn't simple. It's really hard for me to describe. And I'm actually working on a book about this very topic. So look forward to that, I suppose. So I'm articulating it sort of poorly here, but it's a relationship thing that is like anything else. Like if one of your kids yells the word sex, that's a funny word, ha ha ha, in the house, and they're 5 years old. There are two ways to respond to that. Way number one is to go, not under my house, not with my rules, you'll never say those words again, wash your mouth out with soap. All you've done is created a relationship and situation where the kid is going to go find out somewhere else. You should be the one telling them what it is. You should be the one telling them why it isn't funny or why it's funny or why it's a word at all and what it means. That's your job, not somebody else's. So when you stigmatize and demonize, they're going to go somewhere else. I find the exact same thing with technology. So if you're already doing that in the other more practical ways around your kids outside of technology, then when the tech stuff comes up, you're going to be better prepared for it. So when they come to you or you go to them and you're like, Dad, I'm only 12, but I want a Facebook account. Well, you're not supposed to have one until you're 13. I know, but I really want one. My friend so-and-so has it. All right, well, tell you what, if I'm the first person you friend, you can do it. And then you start sending messages to them. They send them to you. And before you know it, even though their goal is to escape from you in some ways, like Megan says, which I totally agree with, they end up kind of wanting to hang around you too. Like they want you to sort of be a part of it as well. And when that starts to happen, it's great because you're up on it, they're up on it, you're chatting back and forth. I got 3 different tweets from my daughter today, a couple of texts from my other daughter, and Nick sends me Vines all the time. Well, that's the kind of thing you want. You want it to be open. You don't want to be, what's this Vine thing and not under my house, because they'll just find it some other way. You're going to turn them all into hackers or just going to cheat and try to sneak around their parents. So that's my general answer.
Malicious hackers.
Yeah, malicious. Sorry, Megan, I cut you off when I started talking.
No, that was basically what I was going to say. You talk to them, and like Scott said, it's no different than any other way you parented from the very beginning, with or without technology. It's just talking and listening. I mean, that I get so frustrated with the news stories about sexting. It's just like it sells ads, so that's why you always hear about it. And it's just like you need to talk to your kid. Talk to your kids about it. And true, it's hard. It's not easy to talk to your kids about these things, but you have to, and ask them what they're doing, because otherwise if you're just watching the news or reading the headlines about what every teenager is doing, watch out what your teenager is doing right now, like you don't know if your teenager is doing that. You need to talk to them and ask them.
Also, you need to remember, you were adults, old people in suits were telling that of you when you were a kid, when you were reading comic books, or you were playing Nintendo, or you were doing whatever it was that was the demonized thing in the culture of the time. It's very hard to keep your brain in a place that remembers that and can equate it to what's happening today, because it's really no different. The people who read comics and video games, for the large, incredible percentage, went on to be regular people working, tax-paying, in some cases leaders of countries, companies, and communities. And that's what will happen to this generation as well. So getting all caught up in the, ooh, I bet you don't know what your teenager's doing on the weekend with his phone, that is just going to put you in a place of fear-mongering, and you're going to overreact. And my experience with that is it's just, A, never really all that true. And second of all, this argument that, well, I need to be as safe as I can. Why is it bad for me to do everything I can to protect my kid? If you're doing everything you can, then that means you are learning what these things are. You are truly understanding what they are, even if it annoys your kids that you know this much stuff. Like sometimes they get annoyed at me because I'll say, guys, I know what's going on. You don't have to go there or whatever. And they'll say, Dad, and I'll say, seriously, you're going to ask me because I totally know this. Like, this is something I know. And you sort of reset those expectations, and they realize, oh, crap, we're kind of in this together. That's just family making. That's just like, bonding and creating a system of trust. And it, again, is across all topics, not just technology. So if you're already establishing that in other ways that you are confident in, like how, I might be a farmer somewhere saying, well, I'm going to let my kid drive when he's 13 because my dad did for me, whatever. So maybe you do. Might even be against the law, but you know what? You've got some wisdom. You're making a choice as a father, and you do the thing you're going to do. But then get terrified because Snapchat's on somebody's phone? and demand it gets removed because you've heard on the news what happens. Like, that's just the worst possible thing. So I just think it makes you a more consistent parent. And if your kids are worth all that protection, they're worth doing your own homework and research about, even if you're not as technologically inclined.
I think that answers what you guys have both been saying, answers a lot of the questions we were getting, like, when do I give a cell phone? How do I tell if they're spending too much time indoors? What you're saying about, like, talk to the kids, think about the kid's personality, and be a part of that kind of helps parents to find those answers. And it's going to be different for different situations. I think one of the most interesting questions we got, and I want to finish with this one, was from Military Nerd, who said, do parents think of, and are they concerned that their use of technology is affecting their parenting? Are they concerned with what the takeaway for the children will be?
I am. I mean, I know that I know I should model good behavior, but it comes with part of the job too. You know, I have my phone out a lot. I have my laptop out a lot, and you know, and it's the whole family's like that. I'm sure you and Eileen are like this too, Tom. It's like you both do it, and it both annoys you when the other person is not paying attention to you, right? I mean, it's like that's part of what. It's
mostly her. Right. And if you ask her, it's mostly him.
She says the opposite, but
exactly.
But yeah, I mean, that's what, when you're with people that you love, you sometimes just let your guard down and you're just like, oh, I'm gonna send this text message right now. They won't care, but as a person that you do care when the person is paying attention to their phone and not you. And so it's something you have to think about all the time. I do want to answer that question that you slid by. When is the best time to get a child a cell phone?
Sure.
As late as you possibly can. That was what I said. Wait as long as possible. Yes, it depends on your kid, but just like, do not give in. Do not just because, oh, I get an upgrade, or like, no, I'm sick of letting them play Pokemon Go on my phone. Like, I think like for kids, it's like the longer you wait, the better. That's my personal opinion.
I completely agree with that. And also to speak to Military Nerd a little bit about this issue of your own personal habits. It kind of goes with what I was saying before. If you've done what I'm saying and established this working relationship, not a parent up here, child down here relationship, but a common piece of ground you can always communicate on, no topic is forbidden, doors always open, actively aiming for that kind of family dynamic. When you are sitting on the couch reading Twitter and your kid is trying to ask you an important question, and they start to refer to you by your first name and loudly because you're not paying attention, you realize that it goes both ways. You suddenly realize, oh,
Dad,
I have a responsibility.
Scott!
Yeah, he does that. Nick does this to me all the time. And
that's amazing.
He's smirking at me like, what are you doing over there? And I'm like, all right, I'm sorry, that's bad. And they do it to me, I do it to them. The point is that they get to hold me a little accountable. And that's weird, right? Like, some people think, well, no, a parent's always supposed to be in this position of authority and always the prime example, and the kid should always be learning constantly from that. That is a fantasy life that no one's ever had, really. What really happens is that we're fallible and we're not always perfect, and when they see that in us when the technology is the problem or is exacerbating the problem, my recommendation is to listen to them, because oftentimes they're going to tell you. If you've kept your end of the deal, they'll keep their end of theirs, and you'll stop doing that as much. I know what works for me. So obviously all this stuff's very subjective. Every family dynamic is different. Like you said with phones, even every kid is different, every age is different. But the battle is always the same. The effort to get there is harder for some, less for others, but is absolutely a must if you want your kids to, I think, have healthy attitudes toward and around technology into their adult years.
All right. If you got thoughts about this, email us, feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Let's finish with our pick of the day from Jamie in It's Hot During the Day, That's Why I Drive at Night, Vancouver. Seems like a long nickname for Vancouver, and I've not seen that one before, Jamie. He says, I wanted to tell you and my fellow listeners about my latest kitchen gadget purchase. During Amazon Prime Day this year, I picked up the Instant Pot 7-in-1 cooker. So far, this is the best kitchen gadget I've ever owned. It mainly is a very powerful and programmable pressure cooker, allowing you to make a plethora of meals in a very short amount of time. With the saute function, you can even do your initial browning before making a stew or a soup. Best part of this, apart from the great price, $119, is the vast community of people who already own an Instant Pot and who have shared their favorite recipes, how they use this on a near daily basis. My IP Classics Pinterest board is already filling up. For those wanting an all-in-one solution for meals on a tight schedule, definitely give this a go. I highly recommend it. We haven't tried it. That's the way the picks go. They just come from you. But it's got 9,094 customer reviews and 4.5 stars, so it's doing okay over there on Amazon. And it's programmable. It's not connected, right? It's not trying to be like an Internet of Things thing per se, but you can do a lot with it. I love that this is a pick. It's a gadget. It doesn't have to have the internet to be an interesting gadget.
It's not going to help me cook any better than I already am terrible at. But Nathan, how are you? Do you like cooking? Like, where are you at with the?
I'm not good at it. I don't do it. My husband does most of it. But if I could just stick a bunch of stuff in that machine and it would make a meal for me, sure.
As the only one here who apparently cooks, I like this quite a bit. In fact, the part about being able to brown the stew meat in the pot, like saving you a big step, that's the thing that caught my eye.
Yeah, I mean, I like this in principle. I just know that it's not going to be that great if I do it.
Send your picks to us, folks. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find more picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. That is it for this episode. Megan Morrone, thank you so much for being with us.
Well, thanks for having me. It's fun.
Yeah, and now you get to go do it again because she's the host of Tech News Today, which is on in a couple hours now.
Yes, 4 p.m. Pacific time with Jason Howell, our old friend. And I also host iOS Today with Leo Laporte. That's Monday around 1:30-ish Leo Laporte time Pacific.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I couldn't be more pleased that you and Jason are helming Tech News Today. I think you're doing a great job with it, and I'm so happy. Oh,
thank you. Yeah, you started something good, and we're glad to keep it going.
Well, that and top 5 on CNET are two things that I look at. I'm like, hey, I had something to do with get those going, and there's good people running them. So I'm very proud, very happy. Go check it out at twit.tv/TNT, and iOS Today is where? Is it twit.tv/iOS?
That's correct.
That's a good guess. Thank you, Scott Johnson. What do you got going on?
Oh, things. And it's all, by the way, always fun to guest on that show, and they do a great job. So, Megan, it's really good to see you. And I'm glad that we have one more thing in common, which is we both suck at cooking. But if you want to know more about stuff I have going on, there's a billion things happening, but the one thing I want people to know about this week is we are about a week away from the launch of the Rally Point podcast for BleacherReport.com. They're doing a big new esports initiative. If you don't know what Bleacher Report is, you probably know who Turner Broadcasting is. This is their sort of sports arm on the internet. And they're getting it into esports in a big way. So we're going to be hosting this new show twice a week, myself, Brian, and Seven. And it's coming soon. So if you want to learn more, go to bleacherreport.com/esports and check it out today.
If you like what we're doing here, please consider supporting us, dailytechnewsshow.com/support. Or if you'd like to be involved in our Slack channel or maybe get the full pre and post show in audio form, you can find those options at patreon.com/DTNS. We also have a headlines only version of the show that's less than 10 minutes every day at dailytechheadlines.com. Our email address is feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. Catch the show live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. Our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. We're a little earlier tomorrow because of travel with Roger Chang as my co-host. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
That was fantastic.
Oh, that was great. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan.
Yeah, that was awesome. Always fun to hang out with you. I felt like I was really chatty today. I hope I didn't run over anyone.
No, man, it was good stuff from both of you guys.
All right, good.
I didn't feel run over.
Good.
I did not feel mansplained by either one of you.
Good.
I certainly wasn't going to try to man or parent-splain anybody in this episode.
Do your dogs get annoyed when you're on your phone or your laptop?
Mine
Tom?
does.
Sawyer does.
Yeah. Does he do the nose thing, like the flip up your hand? Does your dog do that?
Yeah. No, well, not so much the hand. He just kind of comes and like gets in my face.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, pay attention to me. I'm your dog. Hey.
Our dog will come up and try to whack the phone out of your hand with her paw. Which is no good on like a cement, backboard.
No, yeah, my dog does it with his nose. That's interesting. All right, well, I get a better.
You got a book. But thank you for being on.
Yeah, thank you. Anytime. And love to have you guys on too.
Tell everyone, especially Jason, we say hello.
Okay, I will, especially Jason.
He's special. Jason's very special.
He is.
He is.
Good luck.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, see ya.
Show titles?
Yes.
Show titles. Telling your kids about the birds and the bites.
Birds and the bites, like bites? It's not bad.
BYTES. Not in my 127.0. Get it? Not in my house. Home. I guess it's home. Your home address. No, home network. Dad, can I have keys to the password manager?
There's some good ones today.
I like this one. Parenting tech, the true boss level.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's good too.
Baby, you got a stew going.
Jesus.
I actually like, if they can combine a pressure cooker with a convection oven,
Yeah.
that is the epitome.
Then
that
I'll
will be.
learn to cook. No more excuses. I'll cook then.
I mean, I can learn how to cook. I just hate cleaning.
I know how to cook. It's not that hard. It takes time to learn, though. That was the thing when I knew how to kind of cook, but when I got serious about it is when I was like, oh, it takes repetition. Like, you have to do it a lot. That's the thing to really get the nuance stuff.
My
and
wife-
even then, I'm not claiming I'm like a chef or like I'm not close to Kim's level or anything like that. But I'm like I can make more than one dish now. I can even make up dishes on the spot based on ingredients, which I could never do before.
This is my problem with Kim is I just feel like a complete idiot.
Right? Yeah. No, I know. You're like living with the master there.
Just bad.
And Eileen's way better than me too. The difference is she doesn't have time to cook these days, right? So, I don't have to compare myself when she does something better.
I like that you're doing that. I want to do more of that. When you were here and talking about that, it made me wish I was better at that.
Yeah, and stuff like salads is a really easy way to get started too, because it's less complex. It's mostly chopping.
Coming from an Asian background, I've pretty much learned how to. My starch is my rice, and then everything else just goes on top of it.
Yeah. That's the way I used to eat in like college. It's rice or noodles and then pour stuff on top.
Taco Bell taught me that just all I need is 7 ingredients and mush them up in some configuration, and I'm good.
I go by basically vegetable, protein, and starch.
All right, we need a title.
So let's go with
like-
Parenting Tech, the true boss level.
True boss level. Okay.
Not bad.
Done. Honorable mentions for the birds and the bites, and of course, not in my 127.0.0.1.
And I really like can I have the keys to the router or whatever that one was?
Yeah. No, you guys had
manager.
great ones in there today. That was awesome.
I'll have a question for you, Scott, after
Oh, okay.
real quick.
No worries.
Nothing too
Oh,
long.
something funny happened with today's topic. I was like, I'm in the middle of this book thing, and it's all about this sort of stuff. And I had this overwhelming feeling to just throw it all out at once, almost like a data dump. You can't talk like that. You have to I think I got okay later, but at the beginning I was like, there's like 20 things I want to say.
You got too much in your head. Yeah.
I'm so prepared to just wing this, and I had to find my brain, and Megan helped me do that, and then it went fine. But
Yeah, no, it was good.
One of the big takeaways is really everyone's different. There isn't a one-size-fits-all rule, even for a particular age group.
yeah,
Because when they have a personality, they have a personality, and you have to work with that.
yeah. Plus, it's different between each kid. Like my 3 kids could not be more different than each other.
Oh, do we need to tell people about the time for tomorrow's show?
I just told BioCow in the chat room at 10 a.m. Pacific, so 1 p.m. Eastern.
BioCow.
I want beef for lunch and dinner. I'm so upset. I went to Costco to buy sandwich meat, and they have really good sandwich meat, the Kirkland brand. And I thought I grabbed a turkey for my wife, but then I grabbed what I thought was roast beef, but it was another turkey. I was like, I mean, I like turkey. It's just I wanted roast beef, so gotta get all this turkey first.
Mix it up, man.
Let's see. What's on my shopping list? I'm going to go to the grocery store after the show. And I'm just, because I never buy sandwich meat. I never buy bread. Pepperoni, yogurt, granola, vitamins, berries, meatballs, mouthwash, stamps, smoked salmon, sausages, Scandinavian bread, and Tilex.
Wait.
I'm trying to think of all the dishes if you could combine those various elements.
They brought up the rear with Tilex, and it made my day.
Yeah. That's why shopping lists are so fun, because there's always a couple of random elements that just...
Do not eat all those at once, folks.
Yeah.
Bad move.
And the Tilex has been on there for a couple of weeks because Ralph's doesn't carry Tilex for whatever stupid reason. So I have to go to like CVS or someplace to get it.
Do you? What do you do with the pepperoni? Is that like
I use that to rub the Tilex into... we actually eat it as a snack sometimes, but I also will put it on salads.
What's Tilex?
It's like a
It says spray for cleaning.
Okay, no, that's what I thought. So
Yeah.
You get the pepperoni, see, and pepper it in Tilex.
Now, see, and what's not on here is I'll often, because I've gotten to the point where I can do this now, I'll just buy ground beef or pork chops, and as long as I've got, some garlic, some lemon, some panko breading in the house, I can do something with them. If I buy ground beef, I'll often buy like mushrooms or onions to throw in with that, and then I just buy salad stuff. I'll buy lettuce or spinach and a bunch of vegetables and.
Yeah, so you know what complements things. That's good, I think.
And I didn't like a year ago. This is all new.
That's the thing I feel like Kim's real good at, and I have no sense of that. And it probably just means I need to do it more. But I would never, like, if I'm like, I'm in the mood for ground beef, I would not know what else to get.
Yeah, and that's the way I used to be. I would never buy that stuff. I'd just go buy something frozen that was already pre-prepared. And I do that with meatballs. Like, when I started... Like, okay, I'm gonna learn to be a better cook. I'm gonna make everything. So I'm not gonna buy meatballs. I'm gonna make meatballs. And there are things now that I like. You know what? It's not worth the effort. It really doesn't save you that much money, and the meatballs I make aren't that much better. So just get the frozen meatballs. But meatloaf, stuff like that, sure, I'll make that. Pork chops, yeah, definitely.
I used to make loaves of meat.
Meatloaf is good. I got an Epicurious recipe that has bacon in it.
See, I try to limit my meat intake and incorporate more vegetables just because of my gout.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. I try to go half vegetables and then quarter protein, quarter whole grains is my target. And not every meal is strictly that, but that's kind of what I try to keep in mind.
My sister-in-law made us a lasagna that had, I don't know where she got the recipe, but it had ground turkey instead of beef in it, and lots of tomato sauce and cheeses and stuff, but the instead of having layers of big pasta ribbon things, it was a certain kind of tortilla, and no one told me this when I went to eat it, and I thought it was utterly fantastic, like one of the best lasagnas I've ever had, and they're like, yeah, and that stuff's like a tortilla in there. It was so weird and good that I kind of don't care if I ever have the old way again. It was so good.
Interesting. See, Eileen loves beef so much. I've tried to fool her a couple of times with things. She's like, this isn't ground beef. And I'm just like, fine, okay. I like tried putting vegetables in with like spaghetti sauce. She's like, why are there vegetables in this spaghetti sauce?
I weaned myself off red meat like a bunch of years ago just because at the time every time I ate it I felt heavy.
Yeah.
Like I just felt like
That's
like
a good reason. That's a good reason to avoid it.
Well, it's weird because after around the age of 25, your body goes through a bunch of changes. You don't burn as much off. It felt like I was rearing a cow instead of eating it. So,
not a good feeling.
No, it is. You just feel, especially during the summer, even in San Francisco when you get the 1 or 2 weeks that are like over 90, you're like, oh.
Yeah. 103 today. It's hot here.
Have you? Oh, I wonder if be a good place to make a solar oven.
Yeah, might be. I don't know. In the winter though, things get weird.
You could do some sun tea.
Ah.
My mom used to do the sun tea all the time.
Yeah. Well, what's that? What is sun tea?
It's tea that you put in a jar and you set out on the back porch when it's hot in the sun.
Instead of brewing it on the stovetop, you let the sun do it.
Oh, weird. We used to do raisins that way.
Yeah.
Same thing, right? Like,
make it. It was a little bit of a gimmick. I never found that the tea tasted appreciably better than just regular made.
Well, I mean, if you like, was she using like loose tea leaves or is she using bags of Lipton?
she's probably using bags of Lipton. I don't really remember.
There would. I mean, how do you know some fly didn't have babies in it or something?
But no, it's got a cover on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so bugs wouldn't get into it.
But that's where the protein comes in, Scott.
You know, they say insects are the more sustainable protein.
You know, that's why they invented Arnold Palmer's, because when you put the lemonade, the citric acid kills all that stuff in the water.
All the bugs. Yeah, that's why they also.
That's not why they invented it, is
No,
it?
no.
Okay, all right.
I like the indignation in that.
You are disrespecting the memory of Arnold Palmer, the inventor of the Arnold Palmer. I never know with you, Roger Chang. I know sometimes you've got these inside knowledge.
Well, that's the whole point. They keep people on their toes.
Keep jumping.
Let me see. It's just some calendar stuff, Scott. More specifically, the one date I asked you about.
I'm almost done here. Yeah, hold on a second. Let me test this. Make sure I didn't do it wrong.
Muting.
Daily Tech News Show, Daily Time. Boy, I say the name of the show a lot, apparently.
Do you?
Scrubbing through here, yeah.
That's fine.
Someone says that Arnold Palmer is dead.
He's not dead. He's living.
No, I didn't say he was dead.
You just said the memory of. I don't think it means he was dead.
Well, I know that sort of implies he was dead. That's not what I meant.
Yeah.
You can have a memory of someone who's still alive. I remember Roger. He's right here in front of you.
It's like when I go to Eileen and I give her my condolences.
The best thing ever was when Roger looked at our dog Django and said, 4 drumsticks.
Yeah, she doesn't fit in the oven anymore, so
No.
it probably wouldn't be so good. Sawyer on the other, but
Too scrawny. Too scrawny.
that stringy meat, like really ropey because it's so rolling around.
All right. We're just kidding. Dog lovers. We love our dogs, and I will never let anyone eat them. So thanks, everybody, for watching.
Without barbecue sauce.
Talk to you early tomorrow.